Everybody, welcome to Truth in MMA, here for the RIZIN recap, UFC Calgary recap, and one championship. I'm Dan from Oregon, joined live here in the studios in the 541, and our special guest we got today is Drake Riggs, aka at Dre K Riggs on Twitter. You might know him from MMA Today, BJPenn.com, and Fansided. Drake, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's an honor. Am I the first guest?
You, I believe, are one of the first media I've had on here.
All
you
right,
might consider
awesome.
that. And I'm so glad
Awesome, I'll
it's
take
someone
it.
from MMA Today. I love what you guys are doing over there. You are my go-to source, one of my tabs that open when I open up my Google Chrome.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Oh, yes. Well, I saw you live tweeting during the RIZIN event, so I said, who better to get on to recap this RIZIN 11 card than Drake? So thank you so much for joining us. And man, what a hell of a card. We got not your typical New Year's Eve. RIZIN's given us a solid like 4 to almost 5 events a year now. And this is basically your, what do you want to call it? Christmas in the summertime, and we get a RIZIN card, man. I love it personally.
Sure. Oh no, yeah, I think it was better than the UFC card. Just to be totally honest, it was action-packed top to bottom. I mean, there was one fight that I actually passed out on because it was, not that great. But other than that, I was all good to go for the full 5-6 hours it went in the morning for us.
Can I take a guess and say that it was the heavyweights that you fell asleep during?
You are right.
When?
I was like, this one's just, not doing it for me. I can take a quick power nap. Pay it off.
What about the matchmakers, though? That job's got to be so difficult. You're like, I'm going to throw 2 heavyweights in there. They're going to come in. They're going to bang. No problem. And lately, we've been getting heavyweight snoozers.
Yeah, seriously. Not helping the matchmakers at all. I mean, Boldprev pretty much just laid on him and then got kneed at a point, but that wasn't allowed for this fight because of the weight difference, which was a big game changer for Shibasai. So yeah, and then he just got laid on for pretty much the whole fight. I was like, you know what, I'm going to lay down too.
Oh man, and if anyone's ever stayed up for Pride or RIZIN before, as soon as you lay down, that spells bad news for you. You're almost never coming back up from that quick power nap that we all say we're going to get.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, Brandao, he woke me up right after that, though. Jesus.
Oh, heck yes. Diego coming back strong from, I believe his latest performance was over in Fight Nights Global, where he gassed out and then jumped the cage.
Something crazy with him always. But yeah, he wasted no time on that one. Kitaoka, went for the takedown and then eventually a heel hook really soon after, and just ate fucking bombs, just one after another, and he didn't defend him at all and went to sleep soon after.
Yes,
he put Kitaoka to sleep and woke me up.
Man, well, why don't we give the card some love and start off from the very beginning, which, honestly, let's talk about the promo package that they played. First, they gave all the respect in the world to Horiguchi's, who was that? That was like his first sensei, his first karate master?
Yeah, they were calling him his master. I'm not sure specifically what kind of master, but yeah, that was deep, man.
Yeah, and then you gotta love the Pride where they bring everyone out, show us the big old promo package, and then jump into the madness. I love just the pageantry of the Japanese MMA scene, the fireworks, all that nonsense.
I know, it's awesome. And I don't think it's like too overdone. Some people say like WWE style, but I don't know. Theirs is different, like if you compare it to Bellator, for example. I don't know. They just do it right, and it's cool over there.
Yeah. So, yeah. I'm a fan of Bellator. They rock the ramp usually, which UFC kind of got rid of, maybe for seating purposes or just visuals. Who knows? But RIZIN. We'll go to Powerful Kyle Johnson here on Twitter, and it's off to a great start with Darren Cruikshank dominates Tom Santos with his patented flashy manner. 13-fight UFC vet made a canvas of the Brazilian with his diverse arsenal and eventually forcing a tap, some brutal mounted elbows in the third. And yeah, he got him to tap via strikes here, did Cruikshank.
Those were gnarly, man. It was just as soon as he started throwing them, big cuts opened up, and Santos was like, yeah, I don't need any more than the ones I've already gotten from these elbows. Cruikshank, yeah, he was on fire last night, this morning, I guess. Pretty flawless win there. And freaking Santos, too, he messed up his finger in the fight also, but kept going. I was like, man, this guy's fucking tough, too. And then he got him to tap, so wild stuff, kicking things off.
Holy smokes, yes. There's no better way than to start off with some Cruikshank violence. And man, I love the soccer kicks, the stomps, all that shit. That's probably one of the greatest things that you see. It's the middle of the night and you're like, oh, am I seeing shit? Or are they really doing this? Oh yeah, that's the international rules.
Exactly. Yeah, Cruikshank is made for RIZIN. It's been awesome seeing him there. So yeah, I'm tuning into him as much as I can.
Heck yes. And then moving on up the card, we'll just go through the gifts here. If your performance wasn't exciting enough to get a gift by Kyle, then you needed to work on what you're doing. That's all I got to say. Topanat from Tiger Muay Thai wins an expedited war as him and Yamamoto drop each other en route. What was this, a 2-minute fight of madness?
Oh my God. It was a minute. It was less than that. Just chaos. We had that crazy LFA 30-second fight on Friday night.
Yes.
And this one, I thought, topped it. It was ridiculous for how long it lasted. I mean, just back and forth chaos. I mean, just go check it out if you haven't seen it. It's on wherever. It's on Twitter. It's everywhere.
Oh yeah, Caposa or someone will have that for you. And let's talk about the LFA real quick. They are getting featured on ESPN right now, so it turns out LFA really truly is the feeder league of the UFC. Man,
yeah, good for them. I mean, yeah, you can kind of tell they've been bringing up some of the champions to fight on a Contender Series. Yeah, they got good people there, and obviously putting on some entertaining action, evidenced by that fight.
Oh yes. I can't wait until they get some sort of cord-cutting package. I know that you can get Access TV if you got Sling or on Direct TV, but besides that, it's hard to get, and it's even hard to find a stream. So, once they become a little bit more widely spread, I'd love to start watching a lot of that.
For sure.
But man, Yamamoto and Tiger Muay Thai, that was basically, round of the night, you might say.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
And then in a clash of cool moms, Kid Yamamoto's sister came in and got a pretty dominating performance over this other chick, and basically her grappling was getting it done mostly throughout this fight.
Yeah, it was pretty I thought it was competitive. I wouldn't have been mad if Ishioka won, but yeah, definitely Yamamoto was dominating in regards to being on top and getting the takedowns. It was fun. I mean, that one started off crazy too. 4 seconds in, Yamamoto got dropped just right away, and then 10 seconds after that, she drops Ishioka. We're like, okay, we're having the same madness just right after. So I was off to a great start, and then it turned into a pretty fun grappling scramble fest, which I'm never mad at that. So that was, it just kept getting better and better.
Yes, man, I forgot about that. Her dropping her right at the beginning of it. And then, we got a face stomp there. God love that shit.
She was using the stomps to get out of the arm bars, which we saw later on in the night too, which, man, that's just a game changer. I tweeted about that last night. I was like, wow, you never think about it till you see it happen, Stomps are huge in that position if you can't, get your torso over to kick the opponent in the head, and Yamamoto utilized that brilliantly.
Yeah, man. And what else? what I also love is knees on the ground, because the guy on the bottom, once the guy on top gets to side control, it changes everything. So his urgency skyrockets, and it just makes the action go so much faster. They're not gonna lay there and be like, okay, here's our 20-second break rest time. We'll take this, and then you'll punch me a few times and try to transition him out, and then I'll get up. None of that, man. It's just nonstop action.
I know. I never get used to it either. So I'm always like, holy shit. Like when it happens, it's just because we're so used to watching the North American stuff. But yeah, it's always like, whoa, kind of surprising. Where you're like, damn, that was nice. At least for me.
Yes. No, I feel the exact same way. It's almost like when we watched that bare knuckle event that happened in Wyoming. It was so bloody that we're like, whoa, we watch cage fighting and fist fighting all the time, but this is kind of somewhat different. Just a little bit.
Exactly.
But man, powerful getting the W at 43 years of age, and that's Kid Yamamoto's sister, older sister.
Yeah, our older sister. Yeah.
She improves to 2-3, and someone had said their combined record is 15-14 going into this. So you don't even always need excellent records to get an exciting fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Mark Hunt. That's the best example I got for you.
There you go.
And then jumping into the next fight, Rin Nakai got some sort of late notice injury, gets pulled from her event, and so Kato takes on Yoshia in a kickboxing event that they had here. And this guy was only 20 years old and has got a 9-fight win streak, 24-3 overall. Man, RIZIN has got a lot of young prospects over there in the Japanese MMA scene.
Yeah, no kidding, man. And even though Usatsuyo, he got beat pretty clearly, he looked pretty good too, I thought. But Kaito, man, he's a stud for especially how young he is, and just the performance. His leg kicks were like way too fast. They were like, whoa, is that even defendable, man? Like he put on a clinic pretty much, and then just in the second round, one step knee right to the face did it in for Usatsuyo. That was just a beautiful performance. Probably the most I don't know, most complete, perfect performance just of striking overall the night. I thought it was really impressive from Kaito. So yeah, that was good.
Man, I love the Asian cards, because almost every event you're going to get mixed in a little bit of kickboxing with your MMA. And, it's hard to get the United States crowd to watch all kickboxing, but you throw one or two in with the whole MMA card, and we get to see the two people who can just go pure offensive striking. Basically, they don't got to worry about the takedown, and you can just go in there and throw hands and legs in this case. So I loved it, man.
Yeah, it was sweet. Yeah, that's a good point too. You mentioned about throwing it in, because then you kind of have to watch it because it's right in the middle of the card. And and then you see it happen. You're like, man, why would I have wanted to miss that? So it all works. Great idea by RIZIN to mix them in, I think.
Yeah, and One Championship does the same thing, and they always have kickboxing on there. I think a lot of the countries down there, Thailand and everything, they're just used to that, so that's what they want to see. But yeah, this one just snuck its way on without Rin Nakai getting injured. We wouldn't have got this fight. So kind of.
Yeah, I think they said that she had like liver failure or something, kidneys, something, an organ problem. I was like, oh, that's not good. Weight cut issue, I'm assuming.
Oh, I feel like it had an itis at the end of the name. I forget what it was. Maybe it's similar to what GSP had. The
something not good.
Yeah. But then was the heavyweight match next, and then that was right.
that was the break. That was an intermission fight.
Okay, so this is what I don't really get. Maybe you can help me out with this. I know, or from my understanding, I thought a lot of these were under the international rules where kicks and soccer kicks and everything, all that's allowed. But I was hearing during contract negotiations of Gomi and Guillard, they had to figure out if elbows were going to be allowed and then if knees on the ground were going to be allowed. Did I hear that true?
So it was kind of weird. There were some fights where there were elbows, and there were and then other fights with no elbows allowed. And then there were fights where I forget which. I think it was Horiguchi's fight. which was a 10-minute first round and then 2 for the second. There were no elbows allowed in the first round, but the second round you could do them. So it was kind of weird, you know?
Oh, man.
Yeah, but in the heavyweight or open weight, whatever they were calling it, since the size difference was so big, they said no. Since the smaller guy, Shibisai, he said no, he didn't allow him. They asked him if he wanted to have knees on the ground, and he said no. So it was like up to him, and that ended up costing him really because he got that position where he could drop the knees. But yeah, that was the only issue with the knees on the ground, I think, was for that fight, and then the elbows, as I just mentioned. So a little funky in that regard, but it didn't affect anything too much except for that heavyweight fight.
Man, well, I actually like what they did. They went to the smaller guy and said, "Hey, what do you think? What do you want to do?"
Yeah.
And he gambled, and he kind of gambled a little wrong there.
Yeah. I guess I get it though, because you see that he did end up in positions where he would have got his like head crushed. So it wasn't the worst outcome, even though he lost. He could have got like beaten really badly. So I can see why he said that.
Yeah, but as you said, this was the sleeper fight of the night. This is where you could have ran away and maybe got a slight little snooze in. But powerful performance there by the Mongolian in the heavyweights. Oh, and there was 2 yellow cards during that fight.
And I must have missed the second one.
Are they still taking revenue away for yellow cards like they used to in Pride?
Yeah, because for Guillard, he had that when he was coming in, since he missed weight by 3 pounds, so he lost 50% of his purse. So yeah, they're doing that still.
Yeah, and he came in something like 900 grams overweight, right? He was supposed to be 73 kilograms, and he was at 73.9, I believe is what happened.
It was a 160 catch weight, 160 pounds, and then he came over 3. So yeah,
oh, damn. I mean, if there was a prop bet out there, everyone in the chat already heard me. We all knew Guillard was coming in overweight.
Exactly.
But man, Guillard hasn't won since 2014.
Well, neither of them had. They were breaking their own losing streaks. One of them had to get a win again since 4 years ago. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the idea of this fight because I was just like, oh man, these guys just need to stop. But it was ridiculous while it went down, you know.
Yes, that is for sure. What else? But right after the heavyweights is when we got our first intermission, I believe. Which, if you guys ever watch the Japanese MMA, we don't do the fight pass, the FS1 pacing thing, where we just give you 10-minute breaks all the goddamn time. They'll give you an actual 30 minutes to get up and go do whatever the hell you want. And so I was playing like the old Pride intro and RIZIN intro and shit like that, just trying to buy us time.
Nice.
Yes. But coming back from intermission right away, Diego Brandao, both of these two savages. If you like a good stare down, a good build up right before the fight, these two nutcases were just fucking. How do you pronounce this guy's name? Because he does that thing where he tilts his chin all the way up as he looks at the camera and gives you that complete psychopath look, man. I love it, honestly.
Yeah, they were definitely intense. I mean, Diego's always intense himself also, as we've seen. And they got right to it in that one also, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah, and man, what's his name? Dives in deep on this leg, and he really commits with his arms on that leg, and Diego says, that's what you're going to do? All right, well, how about you eat 11 straight rights to the face?
Oh, my God.
And about number 10.
No defense.
Number 10, his head finally starts bouncing off the canvas, and before the dozenth one gets in there, the ref goes in for the mercy kill. And this one was savage here. He was down on the mat for quite a bit after that.
I know. I was kind of surprised that he took as many as he did before he went out, because he just didn't block any of them. He was really dedicated to that heel hook or whatever he was going for.
Yeah.
Should have let that go. Definitely should have gave up on that.
After about 3, I might have let go. I definitely wouldn't have got to the over the 10.
Yeah, those were all the same power. Oh, brutal.
Man. Frank Bavon says the Japanese know how to treat their fans.
Yeah, got that right.
Holy smokes. But moving on up the card, the next match was Gomi and Guillard, and this was just straight madness from the very beginning. Gomi gets hurt. Guillard looks pretty strong. Gomi's knee even completely buckles right before the finish happens. And it looked like as he sees the knee buckle, Guillard kind of gets a little hungry, storms in, ate a huge, I think, right or left hook, and then gets rocked himself, backs up to the cage, and you can see the results of that. Multiple punches from Gomi, and he gets taken out, goes face first into the canvas. Drake, what did you think of this?
That sequence was really like, it was more kind of weird than anything because the knee buckle, like the stumble he had there, and his leg was really taped up, so he could have had an injury going in there. But Guillard went in for the kill, rightfully so. Paid for it pretty much instantly. It was chaos. And even before that, though, they were just pretty much throwing identical, just rights, just bombs at each other. Like, I remember there was a sequence where they each threw rights 3 times in a row at each other, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, they landed too. I was like, what is happening right now? And then Gomi had his knee issue when he was coming in, and then he pulled it off there and had celebrated on that epic corner surf or whatever they call it.
Yeah,
good moment. That was probably the moment of the night.
He's standing up on the edge of the ring, and his knee is so compromised that it can't even hold him up. His corner has to grab his leg just so he's got some sort of stability on that leg.
Yeah.
But holy shit.
Imagine if he fell.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I thought that a few times. But 30,000 strong in the Saitama Super Arena chanting after that, go me, go me, go me. These guys, man, they get the highest highs and the lowest lows, so we wonder why they keep sticking around. But in moments like that, how could you not love this sport?
Yeah, exactly. That was crazy. Flashbacks to Pride.
Right? It's so hard to see these guys. They can't walk away when they get, highs like we've never felt in our life when they get a victory like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, and then up next, I believe, was the first fight on the card using the old Pride rules with the 10-minute first round and the 5-minute second round. And like you said, I guess elbows not allowed. And the powerful 6'4" jury out of the Czech Republic came in with 17 first-round KOs and then walks away with his 18th or something crazy. This guy's stats, he's getting body after body racked up on his record. Yeah,
this fight was 0 to 100 just right away. Both of them were just coming out looking for the kill, and then Capoloza, he dropped him early. It was kind of like a light heavyweight extended version of the second fight of the night, but a little bit like that. Just like barely longer. And so Yuri was in trouble, and then he comes back, hurts Capoloza, and then finishes him off soon after that. It was just like, geez, man. They were just not slowing down. They just went right away, just went at each other, and it was wild to say the least.
Oh yes. We came back from intermission. It was like, hey, are you feeling a little sleepy? Boom, Gomi knockout, jury knockout, and at that point in time, they're like, oh fuck, I don't think we took long enough intermission. We're gonna have to go do another, man.
Yeah, exactly. Man.
But then coming in next to put on a legendary performance for his own legendary coach, Horiguchi, who's quickly becoming the face of at least men's MMA over there in Japan. Honestly, I think for international MMA-wise, UFC letting go of Horiguchi was one of the best things that happened. Without him, I don't think RIZIN is as popular and doing as good over in Japan as it currently is. He's been headlining card after card, going in there, not only, being undefeated at flyweight since leaving the UFC, but bantamweight as well, winning the tournament and then taking on the tough vet here and coming away with the decision, not after a hard-fought fight, though, man. He gave him, I think, the best fight since DJ that
Oh
Horiguchi's
yes.
had.
Oh yeah, I would definitely say so. Yeah, that first round, like the first half of it, 10-minute round, first half of that round, really, Hero was taking it to him, getting him down. Sure, he got in some issues where he was upside down getting soccer kicked a little bit, as we're seeing right there. But yeah, then the momentum kind of shifted as the round went on, and Kyoji was kind of almost finished him there at the end of the first round, and then second round carried the momentum over. But yeah, it was definitely a lot more competitive than I thought it would be. It was a rematch, so maybe that was a big deal. Hero making adjustments. I mean, obviously, couldn't get it done still, but yeah, it was. Yeah, even dropped Kyoji there. A lot closer than I think most people expected. So yeah, it was fun still.
Oh yeah, I think that punch, he might have been kind of off balance, but Horiguchi, man, his 1-2s when he darts in, the amount of, I think, growth that he experienced in that DJ fight is just you can't put a value to it. Him taking that loss, because he's since then looked almost unstoppable. And if it would have been an 11-minute first round or a 6-minute second round, we might have seen Horiguchi get the finish in both of those rounds. But this was a fantastic fight that we had here.
Yeah, he just keeps on winning. It's 10 in a row now. I mean, geez, it's like, what's it going to take to stop this guy?
And man, I'm throwing this out there. I'll tell you this. When the TJ versus DJ first started getting the rumors going out there, I was like, what is TJ doing? He hasn't even really put a bunch of title defenses under his belt yet. I don't really consider that a super fight. That's just my opinion. Since then, DJ fought a real close split decision with Dominick Cruz. Some people thought he won that fight. Beat every basically #1 contender since then, including Rafael Assunção, and then takes out Cody Garbrandt, who styled on the man who barely beat him. And so, honestly, when TJ says, I've considered myself champion the whole time, I've been defending the belt the whole time, I kind of see where he's coming from there. But in your eyes, what's a bigger super fight? TJ versus DJ or DJ versus Horiguchi?
Man, I don't know if I would really call either of them a super fight, but I do agree with you. I don't think the TJ wants a super fight, because really, he hasn't been a dominant champion like DJ has. And it also, the thing about that is they talk about TJ going down, which kind of lessens the super fight feel for me, because DJ, he should be going up to get 2 belts, instead of defending that. I think that makes more sense. But yeah, the rematch with Horiguchi, though, that's like the only flyweight fight that I really want to see for DJ left, because people forget in that first fight, it was insanely competitive on the feet. Because Horiguchi could match his speed. It just came down to he didn't have the wrestling defense at all and just got taken down at will. But internationally now, just like a worldwide feel with this new popularity. I mean, he was popular before in Japan, but it's a whole new level now as he's a superstar. It would be just massive, that rematch just across the globe now. It's just like the UFC. It depended on whatever how it would work out with them. But yeah, they're both fun matchups, but that Horiguchi rematch needs to happen a lot more, I think.
Right, and I think DJ is such a competitor that he might do something to make it happen. Maybe even not attempt for a massive payday, but go over to defend his legacy over in Japan. That would be pretty crazy.
I was thinking about that last night while I was watching the fight. I was imagining DJ in the ring. I was like, man, it would just be crazy just to see that, It's like, oh,
he's doing his little power-up move thing, and then flipping kicks, 3 spinning kicks. The Japanese crowd would love him.
Oh yeah, RIZIN, they would make it a way bigger deal than the UFC would. I mean, if we're gonna be real, the best case scenario for both of them would be for it to happen in Japan and RIZIN. That would be huge. I mean, it'd be huge for me either way, but spectacle wise, it would be a lot bigger deal in Japan.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at how the UFC treats the flyweight division. Like every fight is on the prelims for that. They don't even build up any of the contenders. Jack Slack has been reading this bell for a long time. He's like, just put me in charge of the flyweight division because you guys are running this into the ground. You got to build a contender on the same card or something. And
Seriously.
yeah, but that's kind of what happens when the promotion doesn't really know how to promote you. They want you to do all that yourself. Yet they're going to rip away your Xbox sponsorship, whip away all your identity that, you know, anyone could clamor onto. Like, oh, this guy's a gamer?
Exactly.
Yeah, 'cause think about it. You hear about how big the esports world is, that it's massive, that, you know, stadiums are getting filled with just people playing video games, watching people play video games. And the UFC can't tap into that, though, even though that seems right at their demographic that they want to hit.
Yeah. It's frustrating. I don't know what if they even have a plan, whatever it would be for that. It's sad, though.
But, man, I'm excited for Horiguchi over there. I'm becoming a massive star in Japan, so thank you, Dana. Thank you, the UFC, for letting Horiguchi go. One of the best things that happened. And then Nikita Krylov as well. Nikita Krylov gets let go, goes and gets like 4 or 5 wins in a row over in Russia. And if true, we're going to see him coming to Moscow in September.
Yeah, it looks like that's the rumor. He's reportedly coming back, though, for sure. Not sure. I'm not sure about if it's going to be at Russia, Moscow, but yeah. Krylov's on his way back, rightfully so. Never should have left, honestly.
100%. Who was it? It was him and Albert Einstein. They're like, nah, man, we're pretty big over here in Russia, and we're getting some wins. Yeah, maybe we came off one loss or whatever. You need to pay us. And they're like, nope, let you go.
Seriously. Yeah, they're like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, the way they pick and choose, man, it's freaking crazy. But moving on to the main event, which was a rematch from the 2017 tournament. Rena got taken out by Kana, her freaking prodigy, 20 years old. And so we know RIZIN, they're like, man, Rena's our Japanese women's MMA star. We got to run this shit back. So each of them goes and gets a victory, and we run it back. The first time, Rena got finished, I believe, in the first via submission. This time, though, it goes 3 solid rounds. We saw a lot of great improvement by her, but ultimately, Askara looked great in this. Even saw improvements by her, and you gotta love the foot stomp to escape the armbar there, though.
Yeah, it was kind of like a drawn out version of the first fight, I would say. Kana didn't really want anything to do in the striking, which makes sense because, you know, Rena's just such a savage with her striking, pretty much unparalleled compared to who she normally fights. But yeah, Kana's got that ace in the hole with her grappling, just could get her down. Not as much as it was fairly at will. And yeah, she was getting her in submissions over and over each round. Rena, though, didn't really. She improved a lot, her defense, which was because she was even there in the first round. I'm sure she was having flashbacks when Kana was on her back, you know, like, oh no, not another rear naked. But she kept that wrist control, was able to spin out of there. And yeah, we got a really fun ground battle for 3 rounds. Saw Kana come out on top. Like you said, some stomps to get out of the arm bars again. But both of the women's fights, we saw that those nasty kicks on the ground, getting out of arm bars. So yeah, it was a fun main event.
Man, I was loving it. It was a nice cap off. To be completely honest, I did not love the 1 hour to 45-minute intermission right before the main event. I understand the Gomi fight, the Jury fight ended way quick, so you had time to kill. But fuck, that's fucking the corporate mentality and making money off this sport is one of the worst things to ever happen to it. This whole, I don't know, I heard that Fuji TV had a time slot, and so that's why we had to wait. I don't know, if those two would have went decisions, we probably wouldn't have had a massive break like we did. But my God, that shit is kind of unbearable, and I'm sure we lost plenty of people who couldn't finish it and had to wait till the morning to get the final results of this match.
Yeah, I was like, are you kidding me? Because it was like 3:30 when they did that. 3:30 in the morning. I was like, man, I was hoping to get to bed by like 4:30 at the latest. Ended up being 5:30. I mean, it was nice. It gave me time to write a recap up for everything that had happened, but it was like, come on, let's just keep this flow going. It's the main events next. There's one left, you know.
I know. Delay it 45 minutes if you're going to put it on Fuji. Who cares? Run the delay there. Don't torture the freaking people that showed up in person to watch this shit.
Oh, I know.
Man, like if you don't love to eat or drink or smoke while you're at these events and they're having 45-minute intermissions, you're just sitting there with your freaking dick in your hand like, what the hell, man?
Yeah, geez. Yeah, that'd be rough. I mean, it was rough and I wasn't even there.
Man, yeah, that's my only complaint for the latest UFC shows that I've gone to. Glendale was about 7.5 hours long. And my brother, who's a casual that I got to go there with me, he made it about 6 hours before he passed out. And he passed out during the Carlos Condit freaking Alex Oliveira fight. And that shit was that was madness going on. But it's just too much to ask from somebody.
Yeah. Man, so he missed out on Poirier Gaethje then?
No, I woke him up. I woke him up. Yeah. The whole crowd was awake and in their seats for that one, man.
Yeah, better have been.
And man, yeah, that taught me my lesson on picking against Poirier. I loved Gaethje from the World Series of Fighting days, and freaking Poirier took it to him, just showing, you know, what being a little bit more technical is going to get you at the highest levels. And so with that performance, I obviously had to pick him against Alvarez, which paid out for me.
Yep, I picked him too. I mean, he's just rolling right now. I love both of those guys also. Yeah, lightweight's fun. Lightweight is fun right now.
Hell yes, hell yes. Well, is there anything else that you want to mention about RIZIN?
I think we pretty much nailed it all. Yeah, it was a great card if you ignore the intermissions. Just like if you're only watching the fights, which is all that matters, you know, in the end. So fantastic night. I thought that was the first RIZIN fight I'd watched in full live, and happy I chose that one.
Oh man, yeah, you definitely chose a great one. I think 2 years ago, New Year's Eve, I attempted it and I passed out. I think that was when King Mo was fighting, or then the year after that was, I think, when Mirko Krokop won, and then I ended up sleeping during an intermission again and had to go back and rewatch it. So this time I learned my lesson, and what I do now is I make sure and try to get just a little boozed up, eat myself into a food coma the day before, because you got to get a nap in if you're going to make it through this crazy event out here. That's my tactic, at least.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just powered through this one for UFC Singapore. Actually, I stayed up for all that one too, which started later than this one, than this RIZIN. I had to get a 5-hour energy for that one. That was tough.
Oh man, yeah, get yourself an energy drink. That shit definitely helps. But coming to us in just 2 weeks is going to be RIZIN 12. We get 2 events in less than a month. This shit is awesome for RIZIN over here. Not a lot of huge names. King Ringa is going to be on this one. And what else do we got? Tenshin's not back as of yet, though. Not sure what's going on with him. Oh, Angela Manganya going over, making an appearance. Hatsu Hayoki. And then Bruno Carvalho is going to be fighting in one of those 10-minute first-round fights.
There we go.
Heck yeah, so we got that to look forward to. But Drake, before we let you go, is there anything you want to plug?
Just follow me on Twitter at Drake DRE_KRIGGS. Make sure you check out bjpenn.com, MMA Today, and Fansided for all your MMA news. I'll see all my articles if you want to read them. Much appreciated. That's about all, I guess, for me. Thanks so much for having me on, Dan. It's been great fun, buddy.
No problem, man. Hopefully we'll have you back sometime soon. If not for another recap, then just for one of the co-hosting gigs for a live stream or just a daily show, man. I'd love to have you back.
For sure. Yeah, thanks so much, man. It's been my pleasure.
No problem. All right. Well, thanks, Drake, for coming on. We'll have you back soon.
All right, buddy. Thanks.
No problem. See ya. And just like that, we get completed with the RIZIN recap. Damn, good job, Dre. 100%. Jay Smoothe, what a fantastic appearance by Drake there. If you guys aren't following MMA Today, this is where I go every day to get the latest news. This is the nice niche outlet for you. If you're a sicko like I am, this is definitely one that you should be paying attention to. Kyle Johnson, always having powerful gifts mentioned on here. Fight Fan DC Howard, Nolan King. Lots of great contributors over on the site. Tasmov announces Moscow fight with Desmond Green. Desmond Green was the one who picked him up, so he couldn't get top 15. But he was able to score big. Next up, we're going to try and get Jay Smoothe on the line. You guys all know Jay Smoothe from the MMA Holes chat. We'll get him on to recap Calgary and the One Championship. J-A-A Smooth. Okay, let's get the hangout switched here. Give me a call, Jay, on Skype. Get this switched up. Bada bing, bada boom. How is this? Let's see how that works. Let's jump back to Kyle Johnson, though, and move on with the weekend. Let's flash back to Calgary. And holy smokes, did we have some controversy in the main event. Let's see if we can get Jay on the line, though. What is up, Jay?
Hey, Dan, what's going on? What's going on, everybody? Glad to be back.
Awesome, awesome. Who better to come on for the One Championship and Calgary recap than the man who was the co-host for said events?
I'll tell you what, man. Crazy fucking fight week, man. Crazy fight week and fight weekend.
I gotta completely agree, man. This is like Christmas in the summer. My birthday is only one day away, and we had a weekend of crazy MMA. It was like it was built just for me. Fuck Dana White and his birthday. This was my birthday weekend.
Brother, happy birthday to you in advance. You definitely got a great fucking treat to lead up to it. I'll tell you that.
Hell yes, hell yes. Well, Jay, how about we start off with UFC Calgary and your hot takes on what was going on there? Do you think that... What do you think of the 12-6 elbow? That seems to be the thing that everyone wants to talk about. We got, again, another controversial finish in a Alvarez versus Poirier fight. Poirier, each man probably thinking that they both won it, which is pretty crazy because they both got a great argument to said point. So, Jason,
man.
What do you think, brother?
You know what? This is interesting. First, we have an illegal knee from Eddie Alvarez in the first fight that causes controversy, and now we have this. Granted, I give Eddie credit. He's a scrapper. He's going to try to win by any means, and he's incredibly tough, but that just looked a little weird to me because it wasn't just the 12-6 elbow. It was also the fence grab that got me. Because, it's one thing if he just landed an accidental illegal elbow, but he was holding on to the fence as well. He was committing, I'd say, more than one foul, and that tells me, yeah, he wants to win, but clearly the man didn't have any regard for the rules in that situation. He kind of blanked out a little bit. And plus, From what I understand, his corner actually called for that elbow.
Yes.
So
you could see live on the broadcast, Mark Henry and who's the other guy, Almeida in his corner, both of them, and Henry is even making the freaking the visualization for him on what to do to throw it directly down 12-6.
I know, right? Like that's a little fishy to me. So of course Eddie was just following instructions per the actual situation, but man, that just looks suspicious. Especially this is now 2 fights in a row where Eddie has had a controversy of some type when it comes to the type of strikes that he throws. At least against Poirier, that is. So I think that might tell you he probably found out he was in trouble and he felt maybe a little desperate and his corner felt a little bit desperate. So there's always a chance that they said, hey, try to put this guy away by any means necessary. And if you don't get caught, you don't get caught. Unfortunately, the referee was looking right at him, considering how their first fight went. So, of course, Eddie was going to do what he had to do, but it just did not look hard. Wasn't a good look.
No. And, man, Mark Goddard, I thought did great, and then had to take to Twitter to defend himself against Kamaru Usman, who calls him, cussing him out, calling him a piece of shit, basically. And he goes full Sage Northcutt and goes, Mr. Usman, I respect your opinion, and I will gladly never ref any of your fights. Good day, sir.
I gotta tell you what, the salt from Usman was a little surprising because his reasoning was stupid. I understand Eddie was probably his boy, but his reasoning was not logical. So it's kind of like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
When you think of, like, when I saw that tweet, I'm like, why? Why are you going at the referee? That wasn't his fault. He only did what he was hired to do. The fuck?
Exactly.
So I guess Usman wants to be a dirty fighter in the future. I guess is what you're going to say.
I guess so, man. He's not going to be out there getting much love or passes from referees, man. There's probably a little bit of a camaraderie amongst them, and easily all of them know what went down now. And
No doubt.
let's start off with what? Who was the performance fight of the night? Ross Pearson versus McDessie. We watched this live on the Fight Pass and Chill. This was definitely the fight of the evening. CTE going strong the way of Ross. He could definitely use this extra $50K right now. Hopefully to take a nice vacation.
Not just that, man. I think Ross Pearson may want to consider some other options in terms of where he wants to fight because that was hard to watch. McDessie had his way with him. He pieced him up. He completely bloodied his face. Pearson, at that point, he just walked forward and was nothing more than a punching bag. He wasn't even responding. It's just like, it was almost like he kept taking the punishment to say, I'm tough enough to take it. But that's not going to help you later on in life. And I think he knows that. So he may want to consider something else. If they fire him, that might be a good thing for him, actually.
Yeah, it's been a long time since he's had a victory in the cage and taken what might be a record of like 175 strikes to the head in a 3-round fight. Definitely ain't good for you.
Not at all. And I remember Joe from Houston made a good point yesterday. He said it was a miracle that those two actually had a job. And I think you kind of called it too when you said that fight was another loser leaves town type of fight. Because if you look at both of their careers, whoever lost that was definitely going to be on the cusp of being fired at some point. And Pearson did not help his case out at all.
No. I mean, went there and put on a war, which if you come to bang, they sure in the hell love that shit. But they don't love the crappy record. And if you're on Fight Pass, you're already on there for a reason.
No doubt, man. No doubt. And this certainly didn't help out his case, and it didn't help out the cause. At least we know the guy in the first fight that got liver kicked is definitely going to be fired, though. That's a definite. And I think Ross might be joining him.
Herrera, the man from Mexico, is going to get the axe. That's about a guarantee. But the two performances of the night go to Dustin Poirier $50K, and José Aldo for their performances over Alvarez and Stevens, respectively. And I gotta agree with those two as well. Jose comes out styling. Dustin finishes with that crazy freaking 12-punch combo. Someone had posted on Twitter, people are acting like the amount of stamina you get in the UFC 3 is so unrealistic, and then you show a clip of Poirier and that barrage of punches he put on fucking Eddie Bravo, or sorry, Eddie Alvarez. And damn, you gotta agree with whoever posted that tweet. I forget.
Oh man, I tell you what though, and actually you mentioned the co-main event and José Aldo. I think it's kind of telling that Jeremy Stevens is now kind of at the end of the line. This was his last shot to be a true contender because he was going to fight Ortega before Ortega pulled out. Well, not pulled out, he just declined the fight. But it's crazy, man, because Stevens really had a shot to become a contender here and finally make his case after being in the UFC for so long and being in the mix for so long. We could definitely say Stevens is done as a contender, and Aldo probably breathed new life into his aspirations. And now that it seems like Max won't even be back at 145, I mean, really, I was surprised José Aldo even fought at 145 considering those two losses to Max, but I guess since Max is not going to be back for a while, it seems, after that stroke he had, Jose might actually have he might have new life as a contender in the future.
You definitely got a point there. I saw someone mention, because the highlight was, or the talk of the town, if Stevens wins, how about him versus Ortega for the interim belt or the real belt or whatever nonsense. No one had mentioned, though, what if Aldo wins? Because his only two losses are coming to Max Holloway, who it's looking like is leaving the division right now. Not super ideal, but you got Chad Mendez floating out there too. But besides that, Frankie Edgar, who Aldo holds a win over recently, who would get the shot against Ortega? So that's a great question.
I think Mendez is definitely behind Aldo, considering the fact that Aldo owned him back in the day. So I think if they were to fight a third time, the stars would have to align for that. But I think just because of what Aldo did and what he did before this fight, it's possible he's probably going to be just slightly ahead of Mendez at this point. I don't know if he gets the next shot. I don't know if he gets the next title shot necessarily, but he certainly made a case for himself being a contender in the future.
Yeah, and then it doesn't hurt to be from Brazil, one of the biggest stars down there, with especially the global deal. Not a lot of Brazilian stars right now. Someone was like, I bet you they asked Jose to headline that card in Sao Paulo, which is happening down in Brazil, and I wouldn't put it past him, that's for sure.
I mean, hey, you might as well put him in Brazil. Like he can definitely headline a Brazil card, but an American card, like Frank said, no. Not possible.
I'm with you.
At least not at this point in his career. Yeah, at least at this point in his career, not possible.
Yep. And so down earlier on the card, Devin Powell gets the quick finish over Herrera. Nina Ansaroff taking them powerful Muay Thai skills she's learning from Amanda Nunes, getting the job done there. Close fight with Ronda Marcos. At least the Canadian crowd thought so. Dustin Ortiz styles on Matthias Nicolai with that first round head kick that he blocked with the glove, hits him in the face, and then freaking Ortiz finishes up with the finish.
That was a crazy finish right there because he actually blocked the kick, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter at all.
Yeah.
That was powerful.
Let's go down. Let's get some highlights here. And then what came next? Caitlin Cook again versus Alexis Davis and the women's flyweight division.
I was about to say, she definitely pieced up Alexis Davis's face, man. She really pieced that girl up. Caitlin certainly moved up probably a spot or two in the rankings, but definitely a solid performance from her.
Yeah, what? Alexis Davis was like number 3, and she was number 7 leading into this fight, so she'll definitely move up a few spots there.
Absolutely. Alexis Davis didn't even look like a number 3 fighter in that fight, which is funny.
No, and I think Joe from H-Town, he confirmed that she was the one who had the baby recently. That's why she was looking a little flabby.
That would explain it. That would definitely explain it.
Frank Bavon, fighters don't seem to use elbows anymore. Are we talking about the 12-6 discussion? What about Mike Perry in his latest fight? He loves them elbows.
I mean, that is a good point. You have guys like Felder and Perry that still like to utilize elbows a lot, but he does make a good point. You don't see it as much. I guess because everybody's afraid to be fouled for an illegal one. Because it's so easy to elbow somebody like in the back of the head or in the body you shouldn't be elbowing them at. Like, it's easy to get caught for it. So I can see that.
Man, I do love the Josh Barnett defense, though. If you're not trying to get taken down and someone's deep on that single or the double and you get them right in the head at the right angle, I love that shit.
Absolutely.
But here's some of the highlights of the Pearson versus McDessie fight. And man, like you said, Alexis Davis and Ross Pearson look like beat up freaking tomatoes after they left the cage. Just bloodied, bruised, battered, bleeding everywhere.
They were basically treated like punching bags, if you think about it. Like, that's pretty much what happened. They would walk forward and just get punched right in the face for it.
Yeah, nasty stuff there. Well, I'm sure we all love violence, but this shit was getting pretty nasty over in Calgary.
Damn sure it was.
Oh, there we
Damn
go.
good night of fights, though.
Hell yes. And then next up, we got a highlight from the man coming off the steroid suspension. Coming in against the powerful Russian, getting the job done. The Russian wanted to stand there and just eat shot after shot after shot. Eventually, Mark Goddard comes in and gives him the mercy kill. And so the powerful green Hulk maniac Kutalaba here coming in strong after that steroid suspension, Jay Smoothe.
How about that, man? I actually didn't like his chances because of that steroid suspension, but apparently it didn't do shit to him. He put in the work he had to put in during that time, so he definitely deserves some credit for that.
Yes, I'm with you there, too. I thought he might come in a little not as juicy.
Right.
But he comes away with the first round finish there. We're getting some movement at the light heavyweight division, which is nice to see.
Absolutely, because they need all the help they can get right now, because with the destruction of not even a contender, just a hype job in Gokhan Saki, that's his name.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since that, and ever since Gus, turning down fights, 205 needs whatever names they can get at this point, because that division is just shallow. There's nobody.
I totally agree. And someone pointed out on Twitter, all these idiots need to stop calling out DC, especially when he's just there to commentate. The way to the title shot at light heavyweight, you got to make yourself stand out. That's all DC wants, is someone with a goddamn name, or that's putting themselves out there. And so they were like, call out Gus, beat Gus, and then you can get the fight with DC. And that seemed like a way better way of going about it, because a lot of these people and the names that they're getting, it's just not enough to garner a fight with the double champ.
Right, and DC's talking about, Brock Lesnar will be his last. It makes you think, does he even want to take a fight in the interim, even though he has to wait for Lesnar? It's like, what kind of fight in the interim would he even be interested in taking? I don't know if he would be interested in fighting Anthony Smith, per se, but you're right. They have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Make him feel interested. And right now, he just doesn't feel interested.
Yup. But moving up the card some more. RIZIN, I'm a rap god, Cajun Johnson takes on Islam Makhachev. And after his, he was riding like a 5-fight win streak, pretty good win streak in the UFC. He said, I want someone named, I want someone ranked. And the UFC is like, okay, here's Islam Makhachev. Nobody knows him. And turns out he's pretty fucking good. And it just so happens Habibi is in his corner. And he got taken out round 1. Excellent spiderweb position there. And then even with the great defense, he reaps behind it, kind of a la Ronda Rousey, Liz Carmouche style, to just pull both arms into that armbar and get the tap.
Absolutely, man. It's funny because I didn't think Cajun Johnson had any sort of chance in this fight at all. And I like the fact that he proved us right, because he really didn't have any business being in there.
100%.
Steve Sparks says Smiling Sam's DC call out is the only one I can get behind.
Hell yeah. I'll take some Smiling Sam Alvey any day. Why not?
Henry Ford says, thank God Islam took this dude out. Yeah, man. Cajun had no business even being in there. None whatsoever.
He really didn't. Not against Islam Makhachev, but, you know, sometimes you get what you wish for, and it ain't always great. But
got that right.
Lesson learned there by the Cajun. Did you remember during the broadcast when they're like, his name's actually not Cajun, it's K-Sean. And DC's like, oh, we're doing that now? We're doing that now? DC on commentary is awesome.
Oh, man. He should stay at commentary. He definitely has the personality for it. Even after he's done fighting, he should definitely stick with it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, fucking make him your hybrid star, man. Go get some appearances over in WWE. Let's hype up this hype job before the Brock Lesnar thing. Get some more fans, and then, yeah, definitely utilize him like we should.
I hope he beats Brock, because if Brock were to come out on WWE television and hold up the UFC belt, that's going to be such a slap in the face to the UFC as a sport. Well, really to MMA as a sport. That now you have a guy going to pro wrestling and just basically showing the belt off like it's nothing, and probably treating it like it's nothing. Like Dana White would probably have a heart attack. As much as he loves Brock, he would have a heart attack if that happened.
You're talking a hypothetical if Brock wins, right?
Yeah, if Brock were to somehow beat DC, which I don't believe he will. I have DC for that fight. But if he were to somehow win, that's a black eye for the sport, man. It's a big one.
Definitely. I mean, I think I was one of the only people who was really thinking about this with the Mayweather-McGregor fight. Like, in a lot of people's eyes, that was MMA versus boxing right there.
Right.
And MMA lost. And they think that there's no harm to the sport when that happens. And it's like, what, dude? Obviously, you haven't been paying attention to what's happened the last year. Fucking, it's
right.
a fucking
like everybody
show since then.
It's funny because everybody's trying to find like silver linings, like, oh, just the fact that he went that long with Mayweather, makes the sport credibility. I'm like, do you realize what happened? Did you watch the same fight everybody else did?
Yes.
Carry the man for 7 rounds. Conor had good 3 rounds and was carried for the other 7. I mean, that's what happened. So you're absolutely right when you say that. It was not a very good look for MMA, unfortunately.
And it was just a fucking cash grab, when in reality, like, I would have been a million times more comfortable sending Max Holloway into a boxing match. I think he's got better boxing overall. His body shots way better than anything Conor's shown. A lot of people will say, Conor's just got a left hand and then a right hand and kicks to set it up and move you into that left hand. And Maybe I'm not in a majority in this, but I would have loved to see Silva versus Jones. I mean, Anderson Silva versus Roy Jones Jr. way back when it was relevant and it had some juice to it. I would have loved to see that. Yes. They should have took a gamble back then, back in the day.
Absolutely. I agree with that, man. They really should have, because that fight right there, I think would have been not not closer on pace. It would have been maybe a little closer than McGregor Mayweather, but imagine Silva with his defense and his movement, and the fact that he used to be a boxer before going into MMA. He actually had a little bit of experience, and his style was basically boxing in MMA. He just added in takedowns and added in the jiu-jitsu, but he was definitely capable of putting on a good show with Roy Jones. And the fact that the UFC didn't follow through with it, it just says so much.
It's a goddamn travesty. But
Damn sure
apparently,
is.
if you're white, though, and you're a big star, they'll make it happen for you.
How about that? That's the reason why they don't promote Mighty Mouse. Trust me, if TJ Dillashaw was flyweight champion, they would promote him like he was the second coming of, like, not the second coming of DJ, but basically they would truly recognize him as a double champion and as basically the king of the lighter weight fighters. But with DJ, he can smash anybody at 125, and the UFC don't give a fuck.
Right. I think TJ gained a little bit of notoriety with the company when he took out Cody. And now they're like, run it back. All right, whichever one of you comes out of this one, we'll actually start pushing you. Or TJ will actually give you the push. Because they were all behind Cody because he was rocking that undefeated record. They fucking love that shit. What up, Steve? And, but now with TJ, they might have figured out, okay, this guy's pretty fucking good. We got to treat him like he's the man now. We shall see,
Absolutely.
though. Well, jumping on
What's up, Steve Johnston?
To the main
By the way,
card.
Steve Johnston just jumping in.
Oh, yeah.
What's up?
The main card started out with OAM and Alex Hernandez. Alex Hernandez comes out like a fucking pit bull, taking it to the Canadian gangster. Non-stop pressure the whole time, mixed in with a lot of takedowns and holding. Gets Alex Hernandez his second victory in the UFC. This guy is quietly, very quietly rising his way up the rankings. Fucking nobody knows this guy. But he beats the Canadian out in Calgary.
Who was the person that he upset before he fought OAM? Because that's what put Hernandez on the map. And for me, when I saw that fight, I liked his chances against OAM, to be honest with you. I didn't pick him, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if he took this guy out. And here he does. He does it again, man. He's making a name for himself. And honestly, he's somebody to look out for. He really is someone to look out for.
Oh, yes.
At least in my view.
And Beneil Dariush was the man that he had taken out.
Okay, because I knew he took out somebody that, well, wasn't a name per se, but had a little bit of recognition to his name.
Yeah.
The fact that because I remember how he did it too. He destroyed him, and it took everybody by shock. I didn't want to say it was a fluke, but it definitely caught my attention. Like, it made me pay attention to his fight last night, and I'm glad I did, because he's really progressing in a way that's going to make him a future contender.
Hell yes. And he seems to be the right size for that division. OAM was even bigger than he was. So maybe it goes to show you that not cutting as much weight just might be great for your cardio and in the long run, the eventual result of getting W.
Absolutely. You can have all the muscle in the world, but if you just can't go all 3 rounds at full tilt or even go 5 rounds at full tilt, it's going to bite you in the ass every time.
Mm-hmm. And what up,
by
Jay?
the way, shout out to Justice, by the way, who just jumped in here.
Nicely done. I was just about to say that. Okay, so Jay Smoothe, at this point in time, I had to go run an errand. And so I said, what better than right now, Joanna and Tisha, it's going to go to decision. So I didn't catch anything until round number 3. Walk me through this fight, man. Eventually, it ends up like I thought it would. Joanna gets it done with a little bit more active striking, but great grappling defense, I heard, by her.
Yeah, man, I tell you what, Tisha won no part of the striking battle. From round 1, you could tell, like, Tisha was mainly trying to work for a takedown and work for, kind of grind it out the way I figured she would, because she has very good grappling. But what Joanna showed was the ability to strike, was the ability to really crack her, as well as the ability to not be controlled by Torres' grappling, because even though Torres was able to get her up against the fence, Joanna was hitting her with knees, she was hitting her with elbows, she was hitting her with hard punches. Tisha was, she basically had her instincts as a grappler kick in to try to maintain control and hold on without getting, badly hurt. But Joanna was clearly putting her in danger, and her takedowns weren't working. Her grappling wasn't as up to par as it usually is on Tisha's side, that is. And Joanna really looked good in this fight. She wasn't able to finish her, mind you, but in a way she kind of didn't need to, because with a grinder like Tisha, if you can beat somebody like that who's usually a decision machine in a decision, that's kind of a victory within itself.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Nice bounce back victory here by Joanna. Joanna coming out talking fucking insane nonsense, though. I'm the strawweight queen. I didn't lose to Rose. I want an interim shot or a shot at the real belt. And she thinks she's the queen because she had, 5 title defenses, and Rose only has 2 now.
Right. Really, Joanna was, she wasn't the first the first strawweight champion. That was Carla Esparza. But ever since she beat Esparza and she went on that long run, there was a point where you could classify her as the queen, because she was headlining an Australian card with Ronda Rousey at one point. You know what I mean? She was having the top billing. She was getting some attention. Her trash talking was definitely gaining her a lot of recognition. But I think with her, she was just so used to being champion that when Rose knocked her out, not even knocked her out, JJ tapped the strikes, which is something that I'm surprised nobody really brings up to her anymore. She literally tapped out the punches, which shocked the hell out of me. But ever since that loss, I think a part of her kind of died, and she's like, I need that back. I need that belt back. I need to get that loss back, because it was humiliating. You can't call yourself a strawweight queen and somebody that rules with violence and an iron fist when you tap out strikes like that. I know Tito Ortiz did it, and I know David Branch did it, but still, you can't tap out the punches.
No, we just saw one of those in RIZIN. I forget who the heck it was, but they tapped via strikes. Oh, it was the very first fight with Darren Cruikshank. That's who it was.
Oh, that's right. Thank you for reminding me about that. I almost forgot that. Frank does make a good point. JJ should go up in weight, and I'm kind of surprised she didn't.
I think she doesn't want to, because it looks like Valentina Bullet-Shevchenko is going to be ruling over that division, who she already holds a couple of wins over Valentina. Or JJ.
Absolutely. Henry Ford makes a good point. Henry Ford makes an interesting point. He said, did you see Karen Bryant after the fight saying that the 12-6 elbow was a legal shot? What the heck?
Next special guest coming to the MMA holes will be Karen Bryant. Moss and Karen Bryant are going to come together, even though they hate each other.
Oh, boy. Oh, man. I think that's hilarious. Come on. Come on.
Should it be legal?
That's
Hell the fuck
though.
yes. Was it legal? Hell the fuck no. I don't know how you're confused on that point. If you're really confused, then you really don't understand the rules. And that's not your problem, because it's a fucked up rule in the first place.
You're exactly right. It's one thing to say that in your opinion you feel it should be a legal strike, but for you to come out and say that was a legal strike, that decision is wrong, that's just ridiculous, especially for somebody that's supposed to be a journalist that knows the facts. But of course they don't. But come on, that's terrible. That's terrible bias.
Man, I'm starting to come to the realization that most of these so-called journalists just steal their shit off Twitter from most hardcores anyways.
See, everybody in the chat knows, man. Even Henry Ford says Karen has an agenda. She damn sure does. Frank says Karen Bryant is a dross.
Wait, she's a what?
She's a dross. What is that? I guess a reject.
Oh, fuck. Oh, let us know, Frank. Let us know. But, man, moving on to the co-main event, powerful José Aldo takes out the Kevin Heioldi hype train, the fucking the man who was getting it done in the main events when he wasn't supposed to be getting it done, finally gets a mega fight against José Aldo, eats a crazy fucking liver shot. Ain't no selling it at all. There's no freaking way. And Jose goes in for the kill after that.
I tell you what, man, that body shot hurt Stevens bad, and it hurt him bad to the point where he was still holding his stomach when he was down on the ground getting hit in the side of the head. And it's funny because when I watched that finish, first thing I thought was, okay, he got hit to the liver. But the fact that he didn't even attempt to cover his face up lets me know that he might have been a lot more hurt than that. There's a chance one of his ribs may have been cracked or badly broken or something, because that look of pain on Stevens' face. Usually when somebody gets hit hard with a body shot, they have a grimace like that. But the thing is, when you notice on the ground, he wasn't trying to defend his head. He was too busy holding his stomach. So either his liver really got rocked or there's some kind of internal injury that may have occurred there.
It would be worth noting, too, José came in. His hairline is receding like a motherfucker, but he's looking juicy as all hell. Looking great physically. And Jeremy Stevens was the one who was a little bit maybe flabbier in the midsection, not rocking the crazy six-pack like José was. And so potentially maybe Stevens had a slight injury coming in here, but great call there.
That's a possibility.
Jay. Could be more than just a liver shot going on here.
That's a possibility. He probably did have an injury, and you know what? It could have been maybe a rib injury, because that body shot looked like it completely wrecked him, because the minute he got hit with it, he was just mentally out of it, and he didn't even bother protecting his face or his head. He immediately grabbed his stomach and he just went all the way down. He didn't even try to defend himself, really.
No, not at all. And José coming back with a powerful comeback victory here.
Steve Johnston makes a good point. He says when you get hit in the liver, it's the only organ to protrude from the rib cage. It shocks the entire body to the core and releases potassium into the bloodstream. You basically freeze in shock. So that's pretty much what we saw from Stevens. He just completely folded, and he didn't do anything else. He just kind of laid there, and José Aldo just had his way with him until the referee said, okay, we're done.
Yeah, it's like Mortal Kombat. You stun him. He's got no life left, and you're coming in for the fatality finish. They just got to sit there and take it. Jake
Absolutely.
Roberts jumping in the chat. José's hair is done.
Oh, man. That's funny. It really is, though. That hair looks gone, man. He certainly is not, he doesn't look like his age, if you think about it. He doesn't look his age.
But, holy fuck, the main event, Alvarez versus Poirier, did not disappoint. Alvarez pouring it on quick and early. I think this is one of the fights where I actually, right in the middle of round number 1, about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I thought Alvarez was winning. And then the second half of the round, Poirier won the whole thing. And I was like, damn, that was fucking a tale of one round split two ways. But Poirier ends up getting the momentum. Somehow Eddie, from throwing all those crazy barrage of shots, ends up looking a little bit gassed in the fucking second round. And after getting full mount, landing the illegal 12-6 elbow, which Poirier would have been stuck in that position the whole fucking round, just about. You can almost guarantee it. He would have been stuck there taking bombs. Gets up, feels a little rejuvenated, and ultimately takes out Eddie Alvarez with an insane combination, and then Mark Goddard comes in and saves him. Jay Smoothe, your thoughts?
One hell of a fight. Main event definitely lived up to the billing. I'm happy it did. I have to say, I actually thought Eddie was going to come out and maybe, be the wrestler Eddie, be the guy that wanted to grind it out a little bit because of how much danger he was in the first fight, considering he barely survived by an illegal knee in the first fight. But he actually came to him. He definitely did what he had to do. But again, controversial because you're grabbing the fence, you're hitting him in the back of the head with an elbow that he knows and his corner knows is illegal, but they're still calling for it. So certainly some questions there, but there's no denying Poirier had him really it makes you think about this. I think maybe Eddie might have thrown that illegal knee in the first fight to kind of get out of a beating because he didn't have Poirier in too bad of a way in that first fight. He had him rocked, but before that he was getting his ass whipped. This fight, he definitely won that. You know, he was winning the first round, but man, Poirier just has no quit in him. Always comes to fight, and the fact that he finished Eddie. One thing that nobody talks about, the fact that he beat Eddie Alvarez actually saves the weight class in a way. Because if Eddie wins, who do you give him to?
Tony Ferguson? I don't think they fought yet.
I don't think. Actually, that's a good point. I don't know if they did or not, but that would probably be the only real fight for him. But even so, after what McGregor did to him, it's like, would Eddie even be worthy of a rematch at that point? So for Poirier to win, it kind of saves the weight class in a way.
Mm-hmm. You do got a good point there. And, man, so Eddie fights out his contract, is going to be a free agent now. We'll see if maybe the UFC gave him an offer that was too good to refuse. Maybe he's going to go through this 30-day exclusive period and then go shop around. Only time will tell, but Poirier moving definitely up the rankings here. And honestly, if we could move the UFC forward as quickly as fucking possible, get Habibi versus Conor in October, and then whenever Ferguson is not injured versus Poirier, that would be great. Just have one of them on standby for that October card as well, if they could.
You could have Poirier and Ferguson fight each other next, and then whoever wins that fight fights Khabib, Conor, or fills in for Khabib or Conor if somebody pulls out.
Oh yeah. Do both of them on the same card. I'd love that.
Actually, yeah, that's even better. Put them on the same card. Why not?
Fucking A. Let's go see if we can. Any more takeaways from Calgary? It's worth mentioning, I believe the arena there was 10,603 in attendance, which is about 55% of capacity of what they could have fit. They did gross like 1.4 million in the live gate, which isn't bad, but definitely lacking in the attendance numbers. I was calling this shit. I thought around 9,000. They did break that 10,000 mark, though. Compare that to UFC Calgary, which is, I think, 149. I believe they had 16,000 in attendance. So, what the fuck, Jay? MMA fans don't want to go watch it live no more?
I tell you what, and it's a point that you and I talk about for a long time, and you especially bring it up a lot. Pacing. Pacing is a bitch. Nobody wants to wait 30, 45 minutes in between fights, just to have it all happen. I think pacing is a part of it. I think some of the cards could have better names on them. This one was actually a good one. But, yeah, man, it just seems like good cards are too far in between, and I think with all of the pacing in general and even some of the prices for tickets, man, I just think people are like, fuck this. I'd rather just watch it at home.
Fucking A. And I don't want it to be that way. I want people to show up, spend fucking $30 on a seat, $80 on booze and food, and walk away saying, fuck, I love UFC. I want to watch this shit all the time. But that's not what's happening. We got to figure that out, man. Let's get the prices down. Let's get the pacing figured out as well. Holy fuck.
Definitely, man. They need to be on the level with Invicta and ONE FC. It sounds crazy, but they need pacing like that where you don't wait long. And think about it. In today's world, I would say most of their audience, I don't know what their age group is with the audience, but I can imagine that audience doesn't want to wait long for anything.
Mm-hmm. I'm totally with you, man. Fucking 5 hours, I think, is max. All other sporting events, you don't ever ask more than 4 hours. Well, I'm not a baseball fan. Maybe a double header might compare to something like this. But that's insane, man.
Damn right, man. Fuck, it's funny because, like, even LFA, I was watching LFA on Friday when you were asking me about those fights, and I thought about the pacing of that event. You would like the pacing of LFA. They don't fuck around, man. They go from fight to fight. The longest you wait is maybe, just for regular commercial time. But when they're on air, they don't waste time. As soon as that fight's out, ring announcer's already in there, bringing out the next fight.
Oh, yeah, and LFA recently, since ESPN has made the deal with the UFC, they have not only had on highlights from Fight Pass, exclusive fights, but now LFA, which is the feeder league, the college to the pro league of the UFC. These guys, that nuts-ass 30-second fight got a highlight on ESPN, which is awesome to see. This ESPN deal, I think, is going to be a lot bigger for the occasionals than a lot of people think.
And Steve Sparks makes a good point. He says pacing can make or break an event for me, and I feel the same way. It really can. Depending on the card, it definitely can. Because there's, think about it. Nobody wants to wait that long. It's one thing to have maybe one little intermission, but if you're doing this every single fight, especially when the fight ends in an early finish, people are going to get bored, and they're going to be like, all right, I just want this thing to end. Mm-hmm. It gets ridiculous after a while.
Gotta remember, arenas make boatloads of money selling drinks and food. So the longer you're there, the better.
Right. They definitely cash out on it. They like it. They cash out. But I know fans are like, this is getting ridiculous now.
Hell yes. Well, let's move on back to One Championship, Ring of Kings from Friday morning. An excellent free fight card from the One Super app or on YouTube if you get the correct link. And starting off, the very first one that I saw before I went live was the nasty arm lock from Joshua Pacquiao. The former One title challenger taps this guy with the fucking chicken wing behind the back. Will you talk about this for the people, Jay?
Man, I would say the best way to describe this is a submission that we don't see often. When you look at the way he hit, the position that his arm is in, and the fact that the legs are just the fact that he's trapped. He literally is trapped. He can't fight his way out of it. He can't, move his way out. He can't, try to thrust himself out of the position. He's literally stuck. And when you see somebody in that type of position, you know something bad's going to happen. Look at how his fucking arm is just trapped behind his back. That's a terrible way to be. You don't see submissions like that, and you don't see that in the UFC. You don't see that in Bellator. It's very fucking creative. So, again, something like this, man, just another unique thing that ONE FC brings. You see talent that really like to take risks. You don't see too many risks like this being taken.
Oh, man, it was great. Way to reef that arm from behind the back. Crazy stuff there. Well, what else do we got? We got to show this Henzo fight. Or Gary Tonin might be the highlight that's up next. The other angle of the finish. We'll skip over that. And what he is branding as the Passion Lock. The chicken wing behind the back, a.k.a. the Passion Lock. Gary Tonin, though, gets some experience. 3 rounds he fought, too, over at One Championship. And the BJJ master, the prospect of MMA, couldn't get the rear naked choke on one side, but switches to his other, which might be his more dominant, and got the goddamn thing done.
You know what? Not a bad day. It's not a bad second fight for him. He needed the cage time. He definitely needed that. Clearly a different fight from his first one, but you can tell his stand-up still needs work, even though he had that TKO victory in his debut. He still needs work on his stand-up, but nonetheless, his ground game is probably better than most of the people in his weight class in that company. So if anything, he's going to be nothing more than a ground ace probably for the beginning part of his career. But if his striking can really develop to a point where he can handle himself and not just be that one-dimensional guy that can be taken out on the feet, he's going to become a prospect. I mean, a highly touted prospect. He already is, but he's going to start gaining a lot more attention if he can round out his game. But this was good for him. He needed the cage time and the experience, and he got the victory. So I would say probably another step in the right direction for the progress of Gary Tonin.
Yes, and then he takes to Twitter, responds to a bunch of his fans. He's like, everyone out there saying that I should join another promotion. I love it at One Championship. They don't. I couldn't be treated better. Couldn't be with a more professional organization where I love where they're going and just the morality of everything. Powerful tweet by him. He's happy where he's at.
Damn right, man. I agree with you 110%. I love the fact. Yeah, I love the fact that Tannen now has a submission finish. Excuse me, inside of the cage as well as a TKO. So the ratio is starting to even itself out. But if he can work on that stand up, he's going to be a problem.
Heck yes. And then jumping into the Legends division, maybe we'll see Vitor Belfort out there soon. Renzo Gracie taps out Yuki Kondo in round number 2. If you miss this fight, make sure to just skip over round number 1. We got a yellow card because of no action. They weren't doing nothing, but coming out of the gate, Renzo says, all right, let's do the damn thing. I'm sick of these yellow cards. I'm sick of you stealing some of my purse money. And he gets the rear naked choke finish over Kondo.
Tell you what, man, definitely the shock of the night, at least in my opinion. 51 years old, Renzo Gracie comes out of, I guess ONE FC said, let's give you $500,000 to get your fat ass off the couch and do a one-time fight for us. And he's like, all right, why not? And like you said, man, round 1, don't even bother watching it, folks. When you watch the replay, skip round 1 because literally nothing happens. A lot of inactivity. And it got to the point where the referee admonished them on 2 occasions. And the second time, the referee drew a yellow card because he's like, all right, I'm done with this shit. If you guys do not engage, I'm really going to throw the hammer down and points are probably – and I guess when the red card comes out, I'm not sure what happens at that point, if they do it like Pride or not. But if they do, that would have been pretty bad for Renzo. But he said, you know what, fuck it, round 2. Immediately went for the takedown. Immediately went for it. Didn't waste any time. And as soon as he got it, really that was when the fight was over. As soon as he secured the takedown, it was done. Because Kondo had nothing for him on the ground, obviously. So, crazy win for Renzo. I don't really know, I don't know if this is going to be a reoccurring thing for him or not, but just the story and just the fight itself was crazy. Because he went from doing nothing to showing the type of urgency and killer instinct that I guess he had deep down, but he was a little tentative to show it at first. But crazy finish nonetheless. And at 51 years old, still being able to get it done like that is still remarkable.
Yeah, Renzo, your new Legends Division champion over in ONE Championship. Who the hell else are they going to bring over? I can't wait to see. Who knows? Powerful post-fight interview by him, though. He's like, you know what? Everyone's saying I'm over the hill. That's when you just start gaining speed or whatever the hell he says. Fucking, you know Renzo. He's going to drop some magic when he talks to you. And so that was his first win since 2010 and his loss to Matt Hughes. I think maybe his first win since 2007 or something even before that. It would have been a long freaking time for Renzo. So he was definitely all smiles. Right after that, though, Shinya Aoki beat this guy to a bloody pulp after he did some sort of weird dance at the beginning, I believe. But Shinya Aoki opens him
the opponent, Shannon, whatever his last name is, came out in what looked to be like a walrus costume with a actual snorkeler mask on the front of it.
Or was that one person in his corner? Was in the costume?
No, I think so too. I thought that was just him, but it might have been him and a corner person. But I do remember he specifically came out with the walrus costume and the snorkeler mask and was crawling to the ring like he was a walrus that was out of water. And I have to say, definitely karma, because if you come out like that, you deserve to get beaten down for it. So props to Aoki. The thing about Aoki is, where does he really go from here? Because he got beaten down by Ben Askren, and before that, he wasn't making too much noise, I don't think. So it's like, where does he really go from here? But nonetheless, still a good performance from him. And it was weird. The last time I saw him before this fight, I'm sure he's fought, like, of course, before the Askren fight, was when he was in RIZIN beating up on Sakuraba for God knows why.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, man, it's like Aoki's done so much in the sport, and he's already proven himself to be like the best grappler in Japan. It's like, where do you really go?
Yeah.
What's really next for him? So,
honestly, hopefully a trade deal or something with RIZIN, and he can get on that New Year's Eve card again. That's what I would like to see. But what other highlights should we get to of one before we get the hell out of here? In the main event, Martin Nguyen goes for his third belt, one championship. Apparently solved the weight cutting, doesn't have any weight cutting issues, but Martin Nguyen can drop from featherweight down to bantamweight, no problem. Definitely shows up the larger man, but what's this guy's name? Bagagon, the Philippine native, brought it to him for 5 rounds with an arsenal of strikes, mainly kicks, and he just took it to Martin Nguyen this whole time, and that crowd was freaking amazing, man. I love the Mall of Asia Arena when one championship comes in there.
Absolutely, man. And by the way, that gift right there of the uppercut to the nuts, probably one of the hardest nut shots I've seen. Clearly an accident, but man, that wrecked him completely. I'm actually surprised he was still able to, I guess, kind of get a second wind and tough it out like that, because that was definitely right on the money.
Yes. One of the oddest dick kicks or punches we've ever seen, the ball punch. But powerful, both of the local men, Edward Folo-Yang and Bagagon here, both got the victory at home. So good for the one championship company, I guess you could say.
Absolutely. Definitely, this was a win for the company, man. They definitely did it on a good stage.
Mm-hmm.
They delivered.
The CEO looked a little ejected, like he was trying to get Martin that third belt. He was really trying to do it. I think he's one of the Evolve MMA stewards. And so, but having the local boy with the rat tail come away with a victory, that will also work out for you, especially in the Philippines as well.
Absolutely.
Hell yes. Well, Jay Smoothe, I think that's about it for the recap. Is there anything you want to hit the people with before we get the hell out of here?
Oh, man, we have a crazy fight card this weekend. Definitely something to look forward to. My best advice would be to definitely tune in here, because if you want to hear the real truth in MMA, Dan always brings it no matter who the guest is. No matter what the topic is, you always get the truth. You always get the real deal over here. Plus, we're hardcore MMA fans. We don't just show up like the casuals do.
That's what's up. Well, thank you, Jay Smoothe, for the kind words. And thanks for joining the stream for the Calgary recap and the One Championship recap. If you guys missed any of this shit, rewind the video. But definitely stay tuned this weekend. I believe Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series is coming back. PFL headed to Long Island again. And UFC on the weekend with much, much more. That's it for the recap for today. Until next time, back to you sickos. We're getting the hell out of here.
Peace. Have a good one.